Welcome to my first vlog. I'm Lilli De Leon, the owner of Dreams Yarn Shop, which used to be Dreams Needle Arts and Crafts. It is a store of needlecraft supplies. We give lessons, and we have almost everything that you need for your needlecraft hobbies. My store started in 1991. And it closed right before the pandemic, which was almost last year, almost a year ago. In the store, I was giving classes. Even when I started the store, I felt that giving classes should be part of the needlecraft store. And during that time, I was teaching cross-stitch. Well, cross-stitch, I'm just giving it for free because it's not hard to teach cross-stitch, and even my staff can do it. I was teaching also Hardanger or Hardanger. They call it Hardanger or Hardanger. Specialty stitches, knitting, crochet, tatting, and others like hack embroidery for special students. This is ongoing until we close the shop. And I even have some groups of students which I meet every week, like a group of Japanese ladies. And once a week, we meet for Hardanger class. They love Hardanger embroidery. The reason why I started this blog is when I was giving lessons, I promised my students that once you enroll, like example in knitting, you can come to the class and ask questions or help regarding the project that they're doing on that particular needlecraft. So, libre sila. They can come anytime kasi I'm usually there at the store. Now that the store is closed, I decided to do this blog. So, the students can ask questions, and I can explain it during in my succeeding vlogs. So I hope my students will learn about this and take advantage of this vlog. Later on, I can show you the different stitches or the different classes that I was telling you about. In this vlog, I don't want to do most of the tutorials. I would be concentrating on tips and helpful ways on how to make the craft easy for you, how to, if you have problems with your the project that you're doing right now, I can explain it through this blog. But as a start, since cross-stitch is very, very popular until now, there was a time that there was a drop in people who are doing cross-stitch. And if you will notice, there are many stores that have closed. And Dreams, my store, has survived because I think because of the lessons that I was giving. So if you're ready, I can start giving you some tips and some short lessons on cross-stitching. So now let's start doing cross-stitch. I will give you some tips and lessons on how to do cross-stitching. First, when you attempt to do a cross-stitch project, make sure that you have all the materials you will need for that particular project. What are these materials? Of course, the fabric. You use the Aida fabric for cross-stitching. If you are more advanced, you would move on to using linen, which would be much finer to use. But if you have tried doing cross-stitching on linen, it will be hard for you to go back to Aida. But most of us are using the Aida fabric. The Aida fabric comes in different counts. How do you know the count of your fabric? First, well, you should have a tape measure. Put the tape measure on top of the fabric, and within 1 inch, you count how many squares there are within an inch. If it has 14 squares, then you are using a 14 count IDA. This is an 10 count IDA, meaning if you measure 1 inch, you put the tape measure here, measure it, within 1 inch, you count the number of squares, and you will have 10. This is a 14 count IDA. As you will see, it is finer than the 10 count. So the higher the number of a count, the finer your fabric is. So I will use the bigger count, the lower count. So it will be easy. Of course, you will need also the thread. In the store, I'm only selling the DMC thread. These are some of the colors of the DMC thread. And of course, you will need the needle. The needle you use for cross-stitching is called the tapestry needle. Tapestry needles are blunt-edged. It's not sharp. Why? Because you want the needle to go through the holes doon sa mga butas. Kasi if it's sharp, it may go through doon sa square, doon sa pinaka-square. It has to go through the hole of the fabric. So, another thing to remember for the fabric is it has to be even weave. What do you mean by even weave? When you say even weave, when you measure the count, when you determine the count of the fabric, if it is 14 count horizontally, it should also be 14 count vertically. Otherwise, kung hindi, madi-distort ang inyong design. It will be elongated. So, it's very important that you use a tapestry needle, not the sharp edge ones. And of course, you need scissors. Scissors, it has to be very sharp. Of course, marami ngayong scissors, may mga fancy scissors, may simple scissors. But the important thing is, it has to be sharp. Because if it's not sharp, ang hirap gupitin yung sinulid at magninis-nis siya if you use a blunt scissors. And tip, do not use your embroidery scissors for paper. Kasi pag ginamit nyo na sa paper, it will become dull and hindi na siya masarap gamitin for any form of needlecraft, especially hardanger. When you need special scissors like sharp and very pointed, it has to be very pointed. So if you want to use it for a cross stitch, if you will choose the pair of scissors, better get the one that is also pointed so you can use it for other form of embroidery. So of course, that's about it. And then you have patterns. It can be a book. It can be just a simple design, a simple pattern, one pattern for a leaflet. Ito kasi, it's a book, so there are so many patterns inside, so many designs. So that's about it. I can start now teaching you how to do the cross stitch. Okay, we'll have a short and quick lesson on cross stitching. This is a skein of DMC thread. So what I do is I pull about a yard, which is one stretch arm up to your shoulder. So you cut it. Minsan you have to arrange. If you have a big project, you can put your thread on a bobbin or you organize mo. Tip, and this is another tip. See which one is parang mas mas naghihiwalay. If you will see, this is more parang naghihiwalay siya. So, to separate the strands, this is a 6-stranded floss. So, kailangan mo lang ay 1 or 2 strands. Usually, sa 14 count, I use 2 strands. So, to separate the strand, you get 1 strand each, 1 strand, and hold the rest of the strands and then pull it like this. Hindi pwede, you cannot do like this. Get 1 strand and then separate like that. Magkakabuhol-buhol. So you set this aside because you will use it later. So since I'm going to use 2 strands, the reason why it's long, usually ang maganda kasi sa mga half yard lang ang length. But since we're going to use 2 strands, I will put the 2 ends together and I need this loop. Because sa cross stitch, bawal ang buhol. You cannot let your knots stay on your project. Bawal ang buhol. So, usually, malaki ng konti ang butas ng tapestry needle because sometimes you use 2, 3, or even 4 strands of thread and you will need a bigger eye. But still, sometimes if you're using more than 1 strand, it's hard to thread the needle. I'll teach you 2 ways on how to thread your needle. One method is like this. I'll give you a closer demo on this. So you fold the thread onto your needle, medyo babanatin mo siya, then iipitin mo siya between your thumb and your point finger. So ayan, no? So the needle is still there. So you take out the needle, you will see this tip. So you press it. You press it and then once you know where it is, even without looking, walang pupuntahan ang thread na yan, but through the eye of the needle. So even if once you have done that, even if you're not looking, the thread will go through the needle. So it's very fast. Another way is, especially when you use the thicker thread like the pearl cotton, is dito mo naman i-wrap sa finger mo. Wrap your thread onto your finger. Put the eye of the needle right above the thread, the strands, and then slide. Dapat naka-loose siya, hindi slide mo siya, and you will see the thread come out and then pull it through. The reason why I need this loop is there is a method of, as I said kanina, no knots. So how do you start your cross stitch without the knot? I will use the 11 count, but I should have with 10 count. With 10 count, you need more strands, pero I will just use 2 just for demonstration. So first, you come up in a hole, go diagonally to the next hole, and this is how you do the loop method. Ipapasok mo doon sa loop, and then wala na siyang buhol, and na-secure mo na ang iyong thread. And then you continue on doing the stitches. Go to the next hole, go to the next hole. First, you do diagonal stitches to your facing to the right. So, kung halimbawa you will need 5 cross stitches, you make half stitches muna. 5 of these stitches, half stitches. And once you have done all the half stitches, kung 5 siya, make 5 half stitches, and then you go and cross it going now to the left. So you go down on the same square, but on the hole at the bottom of the top stitch, and then cross. That's how you do your cross stitch. Later on, I'll show you how to do it vertically. This is how you do it horizontally. And then you move on to the next. If it's the same color, if you're going to use the same color, continue on. So parang you are making two journeys. One to the right, doing the half stitches, and one to the left, doing the crossing the stitches. And then after that, so of course, marami yan. Once you've done it, how do you end? This will be your back. What you do is you go your stitches, under your stitches, the needle will go under your stitches, 4 or even 5, right there. And then you have to cut close. very close. But make sure you don't cut the stitch. Ay. That's it. So wala siyang buhol. No knots. So it's so easy, but you just have to follow the pattern. The pattern looks like this. It can come in, I don't have a sample now of the black and white. It used to be just black and white. Pero ngayon, this is an more solo pattern. This is locally done. Kaya mas nakaka-afford, mura na siya. And it's a nice piece. So this is the pattern. This is how it goes. And ito kasi, this is an imported one, pero colored pa rin siya. Doing this pattern. These are the patterns. And usually, sa bawat design, meron sila ng arrow. This is an arrow pointing towards the center. Kasi you have to find the center of your design. And there's an arrow on top going down towards the center. Where these two arrows meet, that is the center of your design. So it shows here the center of your design. Kasi when you make a cross stitch, you have to center the design on your fabric. Kasi kung di siya naka-center, it can be baka maubusan ka sa other side or sobra-sobra ka naman sa one side. So you have to make sure that your design, you know the center, isa-center mo yung design. And make sure also that you have the correct size of your fabric. Baka it will be too small or kung too big naman, sayang naman yung tela. And I will have to teach you how to determine the size of your fabric. And that will come maybe in our next vlog when we come more detailed on how to center your pattern and how to compute for the right size of your fabric. So we'll end here, and I hope you will follow my vlog so that you'll learn more on cross stitching and also on other crafts which I have mentioned before, the knitting, crochet, hardanger, tatting, and marami pang iba. You will learn a lot. There is a lot of things that you can do with needlecraft, which I'm sure you will enjoy. Thank you for watching this vlog, and I hope I'll see you again in these coming vlogs that we will make. Thank you.